Hey my friends, it's been 15 months since I last dyed my hair. Crazy, right? I mean, the first 6 months seemed like they were dragging by at a snail's pace, and it's just been going a lot faster since then. The big key was that I just stopped looking in the mirror and obsessing over it 5,000 times a day, because whenever we obsess over anything and we can't wait for it to happen, time always seems to move slowly regarding that thing. I'm sure we can all relate to that. We've all had those things that we couldn't wait to get to, and it would seem like it would take forever. So once I kind of let go of that and wasn't obsessively looking in the mirror all the time has flowed much more easily, and it just hasn't seemed like it's been dragging on that long. When I think about the sum total of how far I have to go in that regard, it still feels like it could take forever. I'm just sharing with you how it's been for me so that, you know, if you're going through something similar, you can know that you're not alone. I'm sure we're all not alone in that, though. We all kind of can't wait to look like whatever that image was of whoever our role model or role models were when we first were considering doing this. We kind of can't wait to look like that, right? Because that's what kind of drew us forward in the first place, was that image, and then we sort of imagined it to the best of our ability on ourselves. So it's understandable that we kind of want to get there already, but within that we know that hair takes its time to grow. So it's awesome when it reaches the point in the transition where it no longer feels like it's traveling at a snail's pace, like when you're just kind of flowing with your life again and not so obsessively looking at your hair every 5 minutes in the mirror, which was what I was doing. Okay, not every 5 minutes, but you get the idea. Okay, so you can see that the hair growth is the hair growth. My white streaks are the white streaks. 15 months transition, my friends. I might make another update on the mishap. I do think I really know what happened at this point, but I haven't done that yet. But anyway, you can see my whitish gray hairs coming in. I still think that they would be showing longer had the mishap not happened. So while a lot of it has come out, I don't think all of it actually has, and I don't know if it will entirely, but I do think it's faded. Whatever might be left, I think it's faded now, where I don't feel like it's such a harsh line of that nasty color. I feel like it kind of fades a little bit more between my dyed part and my new growth part. It's still a little disappointing because I should be showing about 7 inches of growth at this point, and I don't think I really am. I don't think that this shows 7 inches, and I think that that's largely because of that staining. But a lot of it, like I said, a lot of it has come out and faded, so maybe it will continue to fade. I guess we will see. I will share that with you. What I have noticed is more baby hairs. If you've seen my previous videos, I've been talking about that pretty consistently. I think I probably started noticing the first slew of baby hairs 1 to 2 months after I stopped dyeing my hair. I forget which one it was. It's probably in my videos somewhere. I don't probably really have the time to go back and look, even though I kind of made these videos largely in part as a video diary for myself. But do I really have time to go back through it? I don't know. Maybe one day. Maybe you remember. Nobody cares, right? I think I'm on my 7th growth spurt of baby hairs. I just started noticing the latest one the other day, and I'm like, wow, it's still happening. I mean, not that I'm disappointed in the sense that if I still have repair to have happen with some of my hair follicles that are, you know, they're probably getting repaired in waves, then of course I want that. I want my body to be in the highest optimum health that's possible. And so I want my baby hairs to keep coming in until all of that is restored, or back to as much of it as can be restored. Okay, I mean, I think we would probably all want that, right? So I'm on my 7th wave. I started noticing little itty bitty baby ones. You can see how little they are right there. Those are the littlest ones, the littlest new ones. And then of course I have various lengths because they keep coming in at various points. I don't actually think it's limited to every 2 months. I have just one, you know, I think there are some in between, but it seems like about every 2 months I have a major spurt. And yes, I do think there are some growing in between that point. But you can see all these little hairs. This is like the newest growth spurt. I think this is the 7th growth spurt. The unfortunate part about all these growth spurts for me, with I not only have curly hair, which my hair curls to different degrees at the different lengths, which I think is probably not uncommon. So the shorter curly hair is, the more it's going to curl up, and the longer it is, the more the weight is going to drag the curls down. I think that's pretty common. But I also have cowlicks on both sides. These had been trained and worked into my design by the long hair specialist that I had spent so much time with, and they actually became a great asset. That's part of the reason why I had this lift that kind of swirled over to the side. And the one under here was just kind of hidden. It was kind of came down. All these little waves, I never had this going on before. I can't say I dislike it, it's just I'm not really used to it. It's not the shape I've been used to. And what I've become present to is that as long as I'm going to get I mean, because this is clumps, look at how much is growing in at one time. It's not like a little hair randomly put in here or there, which is how I believe that hair normally repairs itself, because we tend to shed hairs a little bit each day and then new ones will grow back in, but very sporadically, like one here and there, and it blends right in. It's not typical to just get clumps of new hairs growing, and I've had the clumps repeatedly now. Like I said, I think this is the 7th time. Again, over here, I showed you hairs about this length a few months ago. I did a video showing all of this. Those hairs are a little bit longer now. Let me try to find them. Sometimes I've told you before, here's some of those hairs that were like, you know, my new clumps back in the day are now like down to here. For 20 years, I never cut the front of my hair shorter than this because I liked how my hair curled around my face at this length. So when you're looking at hairs this length, and I haven't cut anything, I have not cut any of my hair around here, and I've been growing my hair out from the dye for 15 months. So that'd be like about 7 inches, 7.5 inches, okay? And you can see that this is shorter than that. Most of this is. So all of this is new hair, and like I said, I have not had hair this short around my face in over 20 years. So all of this is growing in like crazy, which is a cool thing, but I feel like I'm going through a transition within the transition, because not only is the growing out process of the new hair versus the dyed hair, you've got all the clashing undertones. I've talked about that more in other videos, which is why it can look so bad around our faces with the colors, the clashing undertones with the colors, in case you haven't heard that before. They don't match. The undertone colors in dye do not, they're not the same, and they don't really complement the undertone colors in your natural hair color. Not only gray hair, but I've typically noticed this even if you have your more youthful color of hair, whatever your more youthful color of hair was, like red, blonde, brown, whatever, the undertones in your natural hair do not go well with the undertones in dye, which is why it can be so hard to grow out dye, regardless of if you're growing out gray hair or just trying to get back to your other more youthful type color. I don't want to say youthful like as if I think gray hair is an older thing, because I don't. I love it. I think it's pretty, and a lot of younger and younger people have it these days. I think that could be because of increased stress and decreased nutrition in food. I don't think that that's something that should be normal. I don't think it is normal, but it is happening, and there are a lot of young women now in their 20s and 30s and sometimes even younger, and they're letting it go. They're letting it grow natural, and they look gorgeous. I wish I would have had the foresight to let it grow out so long ago. So when I say your younger color of hair, I don't mean I think that gray is an old thing. I just mean, like, you know, the color of hair you had when you were a kid and up until it started turning to gray or white or whatever it is. But even if you're dealing with what your original hair color was and you've dyed it, it can be very difficult, if not near impossible, to try to grow it out. I tried. I actually wanted to go back to my normal color of brown after dyeing it, and I never could tolerate the grow out difference, but I just didn't understand what was happening with the undertone colors at that point. It hadn't clicked for me at that point. So that's why growing the hair out can be kind of challenging, and that's why it often starts to get better, well, at least once it passes the eye, like once the gray is down past the eye, but especially once it gets past the jaw. So you're looking at about a year, maybe slightly over a year, because once it clears your face here, it tends to look more flattering around the face. Of course, you're still having two-tone differences with clashing undertones, so it's still not the best. I think that once I can get rid of the dyed parts, I think my face will look a lot better even still. All right, so it's transition within transition. Not only am I transitioning the color, which is difficult enough as it is, but now I've got all this new hair growth coming in clumps, literally completely reshaping how my hair looks. Not for the better most of the time, I have to say. I mean, I really don't look good a lot of the time. It looks all straggling and weird because I've got all these little hairs like going everywhere. So I'm dealing with that, but then I think, well, I might as well just get it all over at the same time, right? You know, it's like, why, it would be better to have it at the same time and then one day look really good again with all gray hair and and then it would stop all these little growth spurts and just kind of even out to a more normal new growth rate. Then it'll look better again. There's also transitions within ourselves. I remember when I had just begun growing out my hair, I had made the commitment. I knew I wasn't going to do it again. And I started really watching a lot of other videos by other content creators who were letting their hair grow out, or who already had pretty much completed their transition or were well into it. And I remember Elisa in Montreal was one of them. Love her, by the way, as well as many of the others who have been so helpful and inspirational to me, and I know a lot of you too. And I remember Elisa in one of her videos, I wish I remembered which one it was, but this was so long ago and I watched so many videos back then that I don't know which one it was. But she said, you're going to go through things as she went through things. And she didn't mean just outer things. You're going to go through things. And, you know, I kind of figured she probably knew what she was talking about, but I just had no idea what that might have been like until I started going through those things too. It's a journey, my friend. It's not just about changing the color of your hair. A lot of things are going to change, but it's well worth it. It's a growth, and it's a coming out, like a metamorphosis in a way, and I think it's overall a very good one. I feel that what I have experienced from it so far, I feel that I have grown so much as a person, transformed so much as a person, and I wouldn't have had that if I was still dyeing my hair, because it seems like it's so unrelated, right? It seems like, well, who cares what my hair color is? And maybe to some people, maybe it doesn't. But there was a lot of stuff hidden within it that I didn't realize. I literally went through crying sprees at first, not at first in the very first, but maybe like a couple weeks later, once I decided, maybe I think it was 2-3 weeks later, I would just feel these overwhelming sadnesses bubble up, and I would just start crying, and I didn't fully know why. I had thought that it would become clear. I had thought that I was probably purging things and that it would become extremely clear in time as to what it was. And a lot of it really didn't. So I do think I was just purging a lot of stuffed up emotions. Some of it I did get ideas about. What was occurring to me, even though I don't think it was the full thing, was that unknowingly, because I didn't understand, I wasn't present to the societal conditioning that had me and has had a lot of us running around putting dye on our hair without even really thinking about it. Like, we just do it without thinking. It's just what everyone does, right? That I became present to the fact that I'd been like beating up on myself and I hadn't even known it, that I'd been stifling myself and harming myself, and I hadn't even known it, that I'd been stuffing myself in a box that wasn't really me, and I hadn't even known it. And it didn't start to become clear at all until after I had chosen that I wasn't going to dye it anymore. And at first I felt very free. I made a video on that, my surprising emotion on how I felt when I first knew I wasn't going to dye my hair anymore. I actually felt free, like an amazing sense of freedom, like so much that had been weighing on me, and so much embarrassment, and so much feeling like I had to try to hide it, because when you're dyeing your hair, as you may know, it gets so embarrassing when it starts to show, and then you don't want anyone to see, and you start plotting when you're going to go see your friends, or when you're not going to go see your friends, or if you have a special thing to go to, you're going to dye your hair then, so that you can try and hide it. And if you see people looking up there because it's a little too long, like, you feel embarrassed. But once I decided I was just going to let it grow out, like, I was freed from all of that. It was just gone. So it felt like weights that I didn't even know were there were completely lifted. That part was really amazing. But then I went through like these crying things, and then I saw some women who were writing on the Going Gray Guide on Facebook talking about the same thing. So I do think a lot of us have had a lot of stuffed down emotions that we don't even really fully understand, and that we didn't even know were happening, because we bought into this whole just action of dyeing our hair and dyeing our hair and dyeing our hair, because it's what everyone has been doing. And in my case, I started it for fun when I was like 16 or 17 in high school. Then it became not so fun when I couldn't let it grow back out because of those two-tone colors. I never could let my hair grow back out. And, you know, anyway, I can go down that tangent and make like a 50 million year long video, but that nobody really wants to watch. But anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about how this is looking. You know, you can't see the bottom, but yeah, this is still after I chopped some of it off. I think I need to trim it again a little bit because it's been, I think, 3 months. I think it's been 3 months, so I want to cut a little bit more off to just keep the new growth, I want to kind of keep it at that length, at least for a while, until I decide something else. So again, let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thumbs up if you like it. Thumbs down if you don't. Consider subscribing if you like my content at all, or if you've liked what you've heard here and want to hear more. And hit the bell if you'd like to be notified to make sure you don't miss anything. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll see you again here soon.